Lesson 4-4, Complex Numbers, Part 2. All right, now that we've learned how to add complex numbers and subtract complex numbers, let's go ahead and take a look at multiplying complex numbers. One of the biggest usage for complex numbers is looking at voltage, current, and impedance. So there's a formula here that shows that voltage is equal to current times impedance. Now the current is this, and the impedance is this, and we want to multiply the two numbers. Okay, in order to multiply them, we're going to, again, distribute. So we're going to multiply this times this, which we get this answer. And then we're going to multiply this times this, and that's this. And we continue, and we'll get these two. Now we're going to simplify 18, negative 6j, negative 36j, minus 12j squared. These two we can combine, make 30j. And remember that j squared is like I squared, and that'll be -1. This will create a real number which can be combined with this, and so the voltage is that. All right, now let's let you do this. Stop the screencast and go ahead and multiply the impedance with the current. And here's the answer. Again, going ahead and distributing, combine like terms, and then the j squared is a -1, which that becomes +6, and we can find the answer. All right, two complex numbers of this form, one with a plus in it and one with a minus, is called complex conjugates. And the product of complex conjugates is always going to be a real number. All right, so let's take a look at simplifying this expression. What we mean by simplifying is we don't want any i's in the denominator. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the conjugate, which is 3 plus 6i, but if we do it to the denominator, we must do it to the numerator. All right, now we're going to do some distributing. So this will get multiplied to this, which we have that answer, and this will get multiplied to this, which is that answer. Okay, over here we're going to do first terms, which is 9, and we're going to do an outer and an inner, and this outer is going to be negative 18i, and the inner will be positive 18i, and that's why it's not being written, because that's going to cancel. And then these two will be negative 36i squared. Okay, the I squared should be substituted with -1, -1, and then we'll have 6i plus 12, 45, and then we want to split this up into two fractions instead of one, and we have the real part, and then we have the imaginary part. This is what we call a plus bi form. All right, let's take a look at b and see how it's done. Here you have to multiply by just I. We don't have to worry about the conjugate, just multiplying by I. And that's because we want to create an I squared. I squared is going to be a -1. So we multiply numerator, denominator, go ahead, and you are going to distribute. You're going to get this. The I squares become -1. And then we can put it in the a plus bi form. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one. I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, which is 3 minus 5i. Whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. 3 minus 5i. All right, I'm going to distribute. So in my numerator, I'm going to have -6i. When I distribute here, I'm going to have positive 15i squared. Down here, the first terms are going to be 9. The outer will be negative 15i. The negative will be positive 15i, which is going to go to 0. So I just have to do the last, which is negative 25i squared. Now, remember, these I squares are just -1. So now I'm going to say negative 6i minus 15 all over, and then this is going to be 9, and then this is going to be plus 25. So now we have negative 6i minus 15 all over, and this is going to be a 34. All right, and now I'm going to have negative 6 over 34i minus 15 over 34. Now the a plus bi form as the real part is first, so this is going to be negative 15 over 34 minus, and I'm going to do a little reducing, and that'll be 3 over 17i, and there's my answer. Okay, over here I'm going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. It's the denominator we want to get rid of the I. So 1 plus I, 1 plus I. And then I'm going to go first, which is 2. And then I'm going to distribute here. That's plus 2I. And then this times this is plus I. And the last will be plus I squared. This will be 1. The outer right here and the inner will become 0, and this will be minus I squared. All right, I'm going to have 2 plus 3I minus 1. I'm converting the I squared to a negative 1. 1 minus a negative 1. Okay, I'm going to combine these terms. That's going to be 1 plus 3I over 2. And then I'm going to split up the fraction to 1/2 plus 3/2 I. And that's that A plus B form, BI form. Okay, let's go ahead and pause and see what you can do. And again, we're going to multiply by the conjugate, and then we get that answer. Pause. And here's the answer. This is the end of part 2.